Morning, everybody. Moving on. We're actually starting a new chapter now in Orah Teshuvah, The Lights of Return of Rav Kook, Perek Zayin, chapter 7, right at the beginning there. And the title that this chapter is given is Erkam Shel Hirurei Teshuva Tzira Umachshavta. The power, the value of thoughts of Tshuva, which is an amazing idea. I just want to pause here just for a second before we go on. You know, we live in a very materialistic world, very oriented towards what you can see, results. You know, in the business world, the bottom line is the bottom line. Right? The thing that counts is results. You know, you could be a corporate executive and at the end of the day, you could say, I had all the good intentions in the world. I really tried hard. But if the profits aren't rolling in, then it's not worth much. That's our orientation in Western society. And the Rav Kook is going to point out that the Torah is not that way. That from Hashem's point of view, from God's point of view, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is actually interested in your heart. As our sages say, Rahmana Libabai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu desires the heart. And results are good. But they're not the ultimate measure of the value of something. And in many ways, results are not even our responsibility. You know, in the business world or something out there concrete, we could put in all the effort in the world, and the success is dependent upon things that are not under our control. This is the problem in Western society, that we value our value by the bottom line rather than by the internal investment. So therefore, when things don't work out too well, so we feel like losers. And then when things work out too well, we feel like Donald Trump. So, you know, it's called a lose-lose proposition if one is oriented towards how much money there is in the bank. Because if there's not enough, you feel like a loser. And if there's too much, you feel like you're king of the universe. Neither of those are good feelings. Okay? So Rav Kook here is going to talk about what is the power of the thought of tshuva. Forget about results right now. But a person wants to change. And on an internal level, they're focused on that. Now, they may or may not stop biting their fingernails. Let's just give that as an example. But even before the results show what happens with the thought of tshuva. Okay. Tiva shel tshuva hi shehi notenet la'adam menucha v'choved rosh ke'echad. The nature of tshuva is such that it bestows upon a person tranquility and seriousness at the same time. Now, that's a really interesting kind of what's the word I'm looking for? So tranquility and seriousness. They don't sound like that those two things get along. Because tranquility sounds like you drank a few glasses of wine and you're kind of spacing off into watching the sunset on the beach. All right. Seriousness implies a certain earnestness about things. Right? So Rav Kook says that they're not necessarily incompatible. Tranquility and seriousness. Both of them. And what we're going to do is try to explain how it is that tshuva, the process of tshuva, the thought of tshuva, that it bestows upon a person tranquility and seriousness. This is a very therapeutic idea here. People are looking for a little bit of tranquility, but tranquility can't mean that you somehow look at the world through unrealistic lenses and zombie out into some kind of blissful state of intoxication. Okay? So Rav Kook now goes on to explain. He menachemet oto gam behirhor tshuva. Even the thought of tshuva is comforting. The thought of tshuva itself is comforting. Okay. Now, how does this work out? Rav Kook claims that the root of much of our psychological distress is the toxic effect of sin. I know this is probably not the kind of paper you'd want to present at an American Psychological Association conference, to say that our state of distress is could be largely the result of sin. I think the word sin is probably not an allowed word in contemporary circles, right? But Rav Kook claims that there's something called Yisurei Matzpun, the afflictions of the conscience, that we have a godly soul. When we behave in a way which is not in harmony with the divine will and wisdom, that means it's not in harmony with our most inner selves, because we have that divine soul within us. That means we're behaving in a way which is out of whack, that our behavior is out of line with actually our innermost will. Rav Kook used an amazing expression referring to the sin of Adam, as in the first person, Adam. And he says that Adam sinned because he didn't recognize himself. That's an amazing statement. He looked in the mirror, didn't know who he was looking at, right? What does that mean? It means that to behave in a way which has nothing to do with oneself, it's not in harmony with one's most authentic self. One's most authentic self is this godliness. And one behaves in a way which is out of whack with that, out of alignment. That is the beginning of neurosis. You know, a car that somehow the steering system is all out of, you know, alignment, right? Then that's a recipe for disaster. Okay? So tshuva, the fact that there is tshuva is a tremendous source of solace. It means there's a way to align ourselves. There's a way to create a harmonious relationship internal to our beings. We're not living with that incredible tension. You know, there's this notion of sort of Jewish guilt. So that's putting it in kind of neurotic terms. But there's something which is healthy guilt. Healthy guilt is a function of the misalignment between one's authentic divine self and one's behavior. Even the thought of tshuva is a tremendous source of solace. Yeah, I was reading a book. It's called Feeling Good, by a psychiatrist from Stanford, David Burns. Yeah. He did a study, it's very interesting, he discusses in the book, that without any therapy, having people just read the book resulted in measurable increases in a sense of well-being. And people give it a name, like bibliotherapy. Doesn't mean you read the Bible. Biblio in the sense of a book. Read the bibliography. Read the bibliography. Read the book. So you might say, well, how does that work? Like, the person read the book and they implemented, it happens to be that particular form of therapy, which is a cognitive behavioral therapy approach, that, you know, it involves a lot of homework. There's a lot of work to do in that kind of approach. And, you know, I don't think the people who were the subjects of the study were doing all the homework, and that's why they're having the sort of positive therapeutic results. It's that reading the book and realizing that wow, here's a system by which one can, there's hope that I can become realigned, that there can be an alignment between my behavior and my inner essence. That's called hirurei tshuva, the thoughts of tshuva. The very thoughts of tshuva is a tremendous source of solace to a person, right? And that solace, that nechama, right? Menachem, that solace, that comfort, right? So that brings what Rav Kook called in the first sentence, minucha. Minucha. It could even be, from a linguistic point of view, that the word nechama, comfort, may be related to the word minucha, which means solace or rest, right? Even though we usually think that Hebrew roots are three-letter roots, right? So this is a little bit for the Hebrew experts out there. So the word nechama, right, comfort, three-letter root nun chet mem. The word menucha, right, there's no mem at the end there, right? So a lot of them, of course, you point out, a lot of the commentators, that three-letter roots are derived from two-letter roots. Yeah. So if anybody tells you that all the words in Hebrew derive from three-letter roots, it's not necessarily true. They may derive from two-letter roots. Okay, and there's a lot of examples from this. I'm going to give you an example right now. You ready for this? So see, Noach is also derived from that word. That's, as a matter of fact, when beautiful. Oh my God, that was so amazing. That was such an amazing example, because when the Torah derives names, and when it talks about people's names, it'll say like Chava, Eve, in Hebrew, she's called Chava because Aim Kol Chai comes the word life. Chava means life, right? And Adam, he's called Adam because he's taken from Adama, which means earth. So it says Noach is called Noach because he brings Nechama to the world. So Noach, which means rest, and Nechama. That was checks in the mail. Okay, so that's what Rav Kook is saying, that even the thought of tshuva, in the prospect that there's a way out, that there's a way of alignment, is minachem. It's comforting, but minucha. It brings that kind of tranquility. Okay, we'll have to pause here, and with this just little taste of where we're going with this is just incredibly important. We will go on Bezrat Hashem tomorrow. See you then.